humans as well as machines, we have to make decisions every day, right? And the world today is characterized by information overload. You're constantly bombarded with things that demand your attention, right? There's data, there's alerts, there's notifications from so many different channels. Like the context is you decision making before AI and before all these cloud capabilities and apps came about. Yes, you're right. It used to be very different. Given that this is the world that we have, and we really cannot change it. Like I don't think we're like our job is not to change it. Like it's definitely here, right? So, what does effective decision making and leadership look like in this context? So there's a lot of different qualities of good decisions that we can talk about, but at HM Human Manage, we focus on two things. One is speed. Time is the most valuable resource. New events will always occur, new problems will always pop up. Speed to decision is extremely important for us. And secondly, the agility. What I mean by agility is the ability to test and frequently assess where we end up after making a certain decision. And then do we have the ability to change and improve from that? So yes, there are great decisions, fantastic, perfect decisions that you can make. But if it's made too slow, or if it's made and you cannot turn back or you cannot be agile, we don't really see that as the goal. We would rather make good enough decisions many more times than perfect and precise decision one or two times. For example, like our priorities every week, it may change. When the team tells me, what should I prioritize on with all these 5 things that you said? One day I could say this, and then the other I could change my mind. And I remember in the early days, the team had a problem with this. They had a problem with that. They were like, you keep changing your mind. After we started having more and more iterations of these examples, they started understanding that this is not me changing my mind. This is me being fluid and being agile, because we're not changing the strategy. We're not changing the direction. I'm not changing the fixed decisions. Then it became a culture. Yeah, we're 5 years old. We're still growing. We're still a very small team. We grow with more and more examples. You probably heard the term fail fast, right? Like this is like a fail fast. Exactly. And this is like a very, and I definitely agree. It's better to fail fast and like overthink and go slow and miss the opportunity or get things wrong. But failing fast alone is not enough. You have to course correct immediately after. Another thing that I always say to the team is like, don't get too attached to your decisions or the work that you've already done. Like, don't try and protect the time that you've already spent on something that was not optimal. Let's just move on because there's just so many other decisions and problems that we have to face. Yeah, just not getting too attached. And also, worst thing that you can do is like not doing anything, not making a decision.
Yes. You mentioned that Human Manage aspires to help companies make the best possible decisions consistently in an information-rich world. That's a very interesting way to put it, honestly, Masik. I just want to talk a little bit more about what you mean by this. How does Human Manage function?
At the very core of our business, we are a platform business. We have built a cloud native platform that uses all the latest technologies that you can imagine. But what the function of the platform is, to simplify it, is that we simply take data in from any data source and we collect it, we process it, we run our own analysis on it, and we produce what we call IDEA. IDEA stands for intelligence, decision, and action. It's a simple input process output process that we do. And the output is supposed to help enterprise businesses. We serve the essential services sector mainly. Financial services industry is one of our largest users of the platform. And the use cases are really, we can really run any use case, but of course, there are some standard and most used use cases. And they mostly go around cybersecurity posture, seeing anomalous behavior, or most recently, our top use cases is fraud analytics.
How you would define intelligence beyond just data? Because from the outside, it's a little bit, how do you say, a murky subject. It's a bit of a murky topic. How would
Yeah,
you define
absolutely.
intelligence beyond data?
Data and intelligence are highly integrated, but they're definitely not the same. And we have to look at intelligence in the context of today's world. For example, like let's look at the way that humans learn and grow, right? Because a lot of AI, artificial intelligence, is mimicking the way that humans learn and grow. I mean, first you decide on the topic or like the problem that you want to solve, and you have to get out there, right? You have to go and do your research. You sift through a huge amount of resource to gather the data, and data is that atomic unit of information. So that's like stage one. And then you got to process it to filter through what's relevant, what's useful. And you have to understand it in the context of the problem that you're trying to solve. Like just because you have a lot of data at hand doesn't mean that it's information that is useful, right? So after data, which is an atomic unit, you have to have a contextualized information. And then you still have to go through further processing. You organize the relevant, useful data. Maybe you create notes. You have your own system of revision. Maybe you want to talk your way through it, discuss it with people. This is when information gets turned into knowledge that you can easily store somewhere in your memory and you can access it. It's not just about consuming that information, but it's like you have to process it and know where to go find it. When it becomes intelligence, at least in human managed world, is when this knowledge gets used or applied to serve a particular function, or when it solves a particular use case or problem, that's when it's intelligence. To sum it up, like data plus context plus application is intelligence. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to work with data every day in order to deal with this. It's a very human concept. Every time that you're applying something that you've learned from the past, that's like intelligence that is evolving. Everyone has their own domain of knowledge and how they're applying it to real world problems. The thinking behind human manage is that in the world that is so technology driven and technology focused, ultimately the decisions have to be taken by humans for us to progress. As of today, humans are in charge of where we take civilization and society forward. So yes, a lot of things are automated, a lot of things are run by AIs now, but at the end of the day, humans are the ones putting these solutions together. What's become blurry now and what's causing some discomfort is that the roles of humans look a little different. Actually, it looks very different in this tech economy. We see less and less obvious cases of humans like controlling the machines, programming the machines. Machines are coming up with their own code, their own models, and they're way better than humans can do. But we also have to think about our role in progressing human civilization. Like, how do you make a lasting impact? How do you think beyond this version 1, or how do you think beyond this initial use case that you've developed for? And trust me, machines are not thinking like that. For humans, it's actually a great thing for us to go into this playground, discover where our passion or interest lies, because now you can literally learn from YouTube, like all these amazing content out there. You have all these different apps that are readily downloadable for free or really cheap. Access to tech has gone is so much better, right? It's a social leveling field. So people can first like really iterate really fast on what's interesting to them, and then they have to go through what I just went through earlier, like data to info to knowledge to intel. That's the role that humans play. So I think there's plenty of opportunities. It's not that technology is going to take over humans necessarily. I think once we start thinking that way, all creativity goes out the window.
Absolutely.
Like that's literally saying that we don't have any more problems. We don't have any more problems in the world to solve.
Yeah. Until then, hopefully one day there will be no problems left to solve. But it's also about furthering human civilization, because The reason
Yes.
why we have civilization itself is because human curiosity overshadows everything else. I think curiosity is also central to human manage your story. And I'm guessing a lot of people would be like, how do I foster this kind of mindset, that enables me to drive innovation, especially in this particular space?
Yeah, I just want to kind of bring back the point that you mentioned about creativity, and how that is a very uniquely human thing. There's a lot of cases where I've heard in my career, like, oh, I'm not a creative person. I
Yeah.
don't create stuff. I'm not creative. But actually, that's not. It doesn't mean that you're. It doesn't have to be that you're a superstar on TikTok or something like that. Everyone has the ability to create and to share their creation outside of themselves. So the kind of mindset that I'm talking about is don't just consume. There's so much content out there that is very easy to just be a consumer. And it's also very easy to say, oh, I'm not a creator, so I'm not very good at creating, so I'm not going to do that. The goal is not to create for the sake of it, but it's to go through that process of data to intelligence to decision to action that gets into a habit of you then, curiosity is literally like a fuel for you to try different things. That learning and that consumption is only going to be a knowledge inside of your head if you don't put it out there. And yeah, that's the scary part, getting that work outside
Yeah.
of you. Those thoughts in your head,
Yeah.
that becomes intelligence that maybe someone else can use, or even machines. It doesn't have to be human to human. It could be that intelligence code or programming thing that you've done that a machine can understand, but that's still outside of you. So yeah, curiosity has to turn into action, and that action will turn into impact.